6:02 p.m. January 17th, 2024. Calling the meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call, starting at this end.
Jonathan Hill, no conflicts.
Raylene Walling, no conflicts.
Lisa Jensen, no conflicts.
Robert Knudsen, no conflicts.
Jeff Whitlock, no conflicts.
Melissa Kendall, no conflicts.
Andrew South, no conflicts.
Barbie DeSoto, no conflicts.
All right. Daniel Gonzalez, no conflicts. Although this is a public hearing, only the presenters and those invited I'm sorry. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I am a patriot. Commissioner Knudsen will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Although this is a public hearing, only the presenters and those invited by the commission may speak or ask questions unless otherwise invited by the chair. Please wait to speak until called on by the chair. When speaking, please be sure to speak into the microphone so that the record is clear. Please state your name and city of residence for the record. Please limit side conversations as they interfere with the audio recording. If you need to have a side conversation, please step out of the chambers. Please do not attempt to interrupt or speak over people. Intimidating or threatening speech or behavior will not be tolerated at any time. Please refrain from clapping or cheering during the hearing. We'll start with item number 1. Josh Arrington requests project plan approval for a new 75,000 square foot office building on a 3-acre campus in the R&BP Research and Business Park Zone, located at 388 West Riverbend Lane, River Bottoms neighborhood. Staff member Ardmore will be presenting.
Okay, thank you. Oh. Got it? Is it reading? Seems quiet. Is this one better? Yeah, I just have to get real close. Hello? Hello? Okay. I'll just do this. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is hand you the materials board. So you can look at that while I kind of go through my slides. Thank you. So it's unusual for you guys to get the materials board. Usually that's done in design review committee. So this is the property here. It went to design review committee. Unfortunately, the materials board wasn't available at the time. So the design review committee approved it with condition that the planning commission gets to look at that and confirm that those are the materials that they represented during the hearing. So we'll start off with that. So the property is up here in the Riverwoods office district on that vacant property highlighted on the map. I think what you're going to see is kind of an exciting project, something that's kind of unusual for Provo to see this type of architecture and design. So what we have here is the site plan, how it lays out on the property. You could see the main building in the middle here. That's going to be their main offices. Up to the north is kind of head office, CEO office, meeting space there. And to the south is more of a amenity for the employees. This is all connected through pedestrian walks, and underneath is a parking garage. So the zone, like was stated, is the R&BP zone. To the north is the PF zone. There's a school up there. That property kind of goes along the border between Provo and Orem. And then, of course, to the west is Orem City. The office space is a permitted use. So what we have here is an office building, but not a traditional office building. There's only 22 office spaces within this structure. There are green roof, lots of landscaping. It's kind of an open and green design. So that's an aerial view looking towards the west, towards Orem. That's it to the north. You can start to kind of get an idea of building height compared to everything around it. The majority of this building is about 37 feet high, minus the stairwell towers that bring you up to the roof. Garden spaces, these three here. The majority of the building is just a two-story, about 37 feet. And then from the street, so this is along Riverwoods Drive. This is what it'll look like from the street. You've got your main entrance there, the parking entrance to the south of that. And then here's one of the renderings for the main central structure. This is the main floor with the offices surrounding. You can kind of see the office spaces surrounding this open daylight amenity. So there's a few concerns that came in on this one through phone calls. I don't think any came through email, but I did receive a few phone calls. They were all from Orem residents up to up above this project on the hill to the west, just asking questions about how tall is the building going to be, sound, light, things like that. But those are the only calls or emails we had on this. This did not go to a neighborhood meeting because it's just a project plan. So only legislative things are going to those neighborhood meetings now. But staff is recommending approval on this. We think it's a great addition to the Riverwoods Business Park. We think that it would be a benefit to the city, and I'm prepared to take any questions you might have.
All right, go ahead. If any commissioners have any questions.
Is this like is this use like for a existing company, like a company is wanting to put their headquarters here?
Yes, exactly. The headquarters for KMC. They're a real estate management business corporation. This would be their headquarters.
Currently located in Provo?
The owner lives in Provo. I'm not sure where their headquarters are.
Got it.
The conclusion on the staff report says that the overall value of the building and site far outweighs the small gap in parking numbers that are imagined for a standard office building. Is that the reason we're seeing it, is because the parking isn't enough? Like why are we reviewing this?
It's just because it's a commercial project plan on a site that's over 3 acres. So
Okay,
anything over
it's
3
the
acres
size.
comes to you. The gap in parking, the parking standard is based off of just a blank gross square footage. In a typical office building, it may make sense to park it at one stall per 250 square feet. But I think if you look through the floor plans of this, see that there's only 22 offices here. You've got about 5 spaces per office. I think it's sufficiently parked.
Okay, so is that something we would need to give exception for, or do you have the authority to say we don't need to use the same numbers for parking? Like, do we need to say at some point that we're okay with the parking?
Yeah, that is a key point for the planning commission to decide.
Okay, and then my other question is, I noticed that the parking is underground parking, and I'm just wondering if right next to the river, if that's even structurally feasible to have underground parking right next to the river.
Good question. So yeah, this did go through staff review. Engineering and Public Works have signed off on the project plan for this. There's a full set of civil.
Okay. That was surprising to me. Okay, thank you.
I have a question in terms of the size of those 22 or so offices. How large are they? Can they be subdivided further? Like, is there an end around where you get under the park requirements?
I mean, that's a good question. I don't know the exact size, but looking at that level, the main level floor plan, I don't see a way that those would be easily divided. But I suppose that's possible through a remodel building permit. But I think at which time we would kind of reanalyze the whole project, right? If they came back with a remodel.
But with the remodel, you don't, that review would only be triggered if you're adding, what, like 10% square footage or changing the building footprint?
Well, with commercial, any kind of remodel, they'd have to come and get a building permit for it. And
Okay.
then we could deny it on the fact that they don't have enough spaces, so.
Okay.
One question I have that wasn't super apparent from the sketches, maybe it was written somewhere and I missed it, but the property goes right along the river. It's kind of shows that there's like some trees planted there at the part of the property that goes along the river. Is there like a plan there's not a trail currently going there, is there?
So yeah, you're probably speaking about that
Little, yes, this little
so it's,
portion.
yeah, it's not a river, it's
It's
Canal.
It's canal.
the
Okay,
Yeah,
so that's not the
it's
Provo
actually a
River,
private
actually.
canal.
Okay,
but
Okay.
yeah, they are respecting distance from that either
Okay.
way.
cool. Cool. And what's the building what building is that to the left? Is that Qualtrics or
To the
Vivint?
south is the Qualtrics
Yeah,
offices, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, I'll turn the time over for the applicant. if
Yeah.
they're here.
Sorry. Go ahead. Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it. Unless anyone had any other questions, there was a gap there. We could recall them, I suppose, later on if we have any more questions. Let's go ahead and bring the applicant forward. Is the applicant here? Okay. Well, with that in mind, let's go ahead and move to the public hearing portion of the meeting. We'll now open the hearing to public comments. If there are any neighborhood district chairs present, you'll have 3 minutes to comment. The general public will have 2 minutes to comment. When your time is up, you will hear a ding and the microphone will be muted. Each person may make one comment, and if we have questions, we will invite you to come forward at that time. With that in mind, please come forward, line up, state your name, where you live, and we'll start a timer for you.
Good evening. I'm Nancy Rushforth, and I live on the hill on Palisade Drive, just behind where this building will be built. And I have several concerns. One is the disruption of the property and digging of the parking spaces below that, because what you see behind that building is a steep hill going up to the canal and then another steep hill going up to our homes. And I am very concerned about the disruption of the property with the underground parking area, that you're having to have a big disruption of the lot there. And that may disrupt the foundations of our homes. In fact, I'm just concerned that our home is very near the edge of that cliff. So I don't know what this will do to the stability of our lots with all of this disruption of that's a big space of the lot that will be dug up. I'm also very much concerned about sound, noise from air conditioning and heating processes. I might suggest to the builder that they might consider using a heat pump for the heat. I think it'd be cheaper to run, be a good idea for you. I don't know that it would change us much, but our concern would be mostly with the air conditioning, and that the air conditioning should be toward, the units should be toward the east so that we don't get the sound. That business park is like a huge amphitheater, and you don't hear the noise on the ground, but you hear a lot of noise up on the top. And we've had this problem with other buildings, with other businesses there, and they have changed some of their mechanisms to facilitate the noise there. So I just want them to be cognizant of that as they are building, that we can hear.
Before we move to the next comment, if you don't mind, I have a follow-up question.
No.
Is there a particular business that you've had noise complaints with before?
The hospital, the specialty hospital down there, but they have addressed it, and we are no longer bothered by it. Was their air conditioning system, and we are no longer bothered by that. They have addressed it.
Okay. Are you aware of other residents or your property itself that's had geotechnical, like ground stability issues?
You mean other neighbors?
Yes.
Yes. There are 2 other neighbors that have been very concerned about this.
No, I mean, have they experienced, are you aware of them experiencing any ground stability issues to date?
No.
Okay.
But there are no businesses along that. And especially there's no other underground parking that goes along to the north. There are no other buildings close by. To the south, there are parking lots, but they're surface parking lots that come to the edge of the canal, or the tree line between the canal and the parking lots. So that hasn't been a concern with those other buildings because they're all surface parking. And all the buildings, the parking lots are to the west, big parking lots, then the buildings are toward the east. So we haven't had a problem. We haven't had a concern about that digging and the destabilization of the earth and of the hills where our homes are built. It's been a different situation with those buildings.
I don't have any other follow-up questions, but
Okay.
With that, we'll conclude your time.
I am also a resident on the same street.
And your name and?
Tina Anderson.
Okay.
And the biggest thing for us is the noise and the air conditioning, and the building that Qualtrics now owns has a big event center on the back that they have a lot of parties back there, which we know, it's just a one-time party. It's not like they're partying 24/7 or anything like that, but the sound, it does travel up that hill. And it may not sound horrible down below, but to go up high, Nancy had the hospital come and listen to what their air conditioning sounded like. And they said, oh yeah, that's bad, we'll change that. But, trying to get somebody to realize that sound does travel up that hill and lands right in our living rooms, is kind of hard. And we also have a concern about what kind of construction noises we will have. Qualtrics crushed their own rocks and made their own cement with the rocks they dug out. And that was a 24/7 crushing rocks, even through the night. So that is another concern that we're concerned about. I like the level of it, and it's a beautiful campus, and hopefully, they'll be good neighbors.
May I ask another question?
I'm going to say no. I apologize. We have to limit a time. And if
Francis, come up and ask.
yeah. You're welcome to be seated though. Commissioner Kendall has a follow-up question for one of the 2, actually.
I just wondered what the hospital's solution was for the air conditioning sounds.
I think that they redid the air conditioning system on the roof of that building. They could have, the engineer came up and tested the hearing, the sound above, and he was quite shocked to hear how loud it was up there. And I know that they had an engineer come out, and whether or not they were able to repair or replace that system, I'm not sure, but they did address it.
I'm just another neighbor, Frances Patterson. So the three of us are just kind of in a row, and we're looking right down onto this development, and we have been for 23 years. And so we've been wondering what's gonna, eventually come there. So how long have they been working on the plans? Because I know several months ago, they were digging holes in different places, and are you aware of any of that?
I could ask our planning staff member. Aaron, would you want to comment on that now? I'll wait. We'll have him comment after the public hearing portion. Typically, there's soil samples done for geotechnical reports that are required as part of the project
So
plan
it's been
approval.
going on for quite a while.
Right. So they have to examine the soil, make sure it's suitable to build on. But yeah. Do you have any other comments?
No,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Yes.
Are there any other public comments? Anyone else here came to comment on this project?
I just wanted to ask you. I talked to you on the phone.
I'm gonna have Aaron respond to my question about how long this has been in the works, or when maybe you could say when they first made an application. And then after that, the two of you are welcome to move your conversation to the hall. All right.
Okay, thank you. So to address the question from the public, this application came in early 2023. They were probably just doing soil testing and things like that. That's what you kind of addressed there. But yeah, they've been in the process for less than a year. Spring 2023 is when the application first came in.
Thank you. Any other members from the public would like to comment? Now's your time. All right. With that, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of that item. And
Was there a comment that needed to be read in?
We don't need to
Oh,
read
that
it
was,
in.
that was the other one.
I think there was Mr. Ardmore mentioned some phone calls
Yeah. that was on.
regarding these same issues.
My question is, would it be silly to say, let's hold discussion on this till after the other items in case the developer shows up? Because I'm kind of inclined to say if the developer doesn't come, I don't really want to make a decision. But that's just me. I think it's good that we heard public comment because I didn't want to make them wait, but what do you guys feel comfortable moving forward with a decision without?
I feel comfortable moving forward without the decision. My personal opinion is if the applicant isn't here to defend or advocate for their project, that's on them. We'll make our decisions based on staff reports, public comments, and in a vacuum of sorts without other comment. But if there's any other commissioners that share that same sentiment with Commissioner Jensen, I'm open to discussion on that.
I just wanted to see if it was something we should worry about, but I think
That doesn't concern me.
Okay, yeah. Well, then with that, like I said, we close the public hearing portion. Is there anything we want to discuss amongst ourselves before voting on the project plan approval?
Maybe we could just go through any concerns that have been raised. And then we could say if we have problems with them or if we have suggestions for how to resolve them. I think the design is exciting because it's new. I think it will blend in very even the people who had concerns said they thought it would be beautiful. I'm not concerned about the parking because the use is very spread out. And even if they were to subdivide, it seems like they still have, how many parking spots?
107, I think.
They could double the offices and have people in their office for every office and still have enough parking spaces. So I feel like I don't know, if the business changed hands, then at the business permit process, they wouldn't be able to get a permit if they didn't have enough parking spots. Is that right, Mr. Pepperoni? So I feel like it's not a slam dunk on upgrading without providing the parking. And even with the concerns about noise, I think air conditioning may be a real concern because there's a lot of exposed windows, but I feel like the neighbors have already shown they know how to communicate about that. So maybe if we go on record, we can't make a condition of approval because it's not a conditional use, but we could mention that in our findings that we would like to see efforts made to reduce noise in the project plan, or this isn't a concept plan, this is a project plan, so
Yeah.
in the final plan.
Stops here
Yeah,
with us.
I think that's realistic expectation. Since it is adjacent to a single family neighborhood, that feels like a buffer zone requirement.
I am curious with that the complaint they had about the adjacent hospital. I mean, you got to be curious, right? Was that just a screening thing that maybe they put up screening, or was it a repair issue where it just needed to be maintained?
Yeah, I don't know.
And the noise stopped after that. It's to the east a little bit.
I think it's northeast, right?
Northeast.
It's on this map. I think it's this one right here, 306. I think that's the medical facility. Does that sound right to everyone else on this map?
Yeah, and I can't.
Okay. If you can do street view in front of that one on this image, I think that's probably the building. Because it does have that overhang where they drop patients off.
And I can't quite tell where the HVAC stuff is. Is it going to be rooftop or?
It does look
ground
like
level?
it's on the roof. I think that the concerns about hill stability would be addressed by engineering's approval. And that's a legitimate concern, but I also feel like it's something that with the hillside ordinance, there's been a lot of discussion about that. So maybe that's another thing we could just mention as a precaution. So will you turn to the north, to the right? That's. So go forward on this road. Yeah, that's the one straight ahead is the medical building. Because it has that awning where you drop off patients. Crazy. Now will you turn around and look at the hill from the medical building? That's crazy that noise travels so effectively. Okay. I just feel like they are totally legitimate concerns and they would be my concerns as well. But I also feel like there's catches for them in the building permit and engineering processes that will take care of it. So the noise would be the one thing that maybe we would need to make a finding about, but the other ones would be caught.
Yeah, I don't know if noise is. It's certainly, I don't know if it's a line item necessarily at project plan approval stage. They're required to adhere to just the regular noise ordinance.
Yeah,
in
we've
the
got
city.
a noise ordinance that's going to cover and all that. And I think it would be, I'd be cautious about putting comments in there that were really not, none of us are engineers. I mean,
There's also no measure. There's no standard measure
I mean,
for
it's
it.
all subjective. And that's exactly what our noise ordinance is designed to address. And that'll be part of the approval process once we actually have site plans. So,
But And just real quick, that was Keith Morey of our Economic Development Director. Yeah, go ahead. Anyone else?
I think it's a really awesome thing that should go. It's going on a vacant lot that's been vacant forever. The design looks incredible. It fits the use. So yeah, I'm generally super positive. One kind of just random question, just kind of maybe for my own education is like, assume this project goes in, it's very customized. Like I know we're talking about if the business swaps hands or whatever. This is a very like build to suit type of development. It was beautiful. It's incredible. I love the architecture. But like, what happens if this company fails, like, 6 months after building this or something? Like, does the city take on any risk, or is it purely just the market and the company?
The city doesn't take on any risk, and the city minimizes our risk by having the developer bond for all improvements. So even if something happens, we've got bonds to cover infrastructure installation.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that was my only kind of minor concern, is just how custom and expensive this building is for a company that I was doing some research on that, seems kind of new. But anyway.
I'll say I'm really surprised at we don't see a lot of rooftop landscaping in construction, and I think that's a really amazing, beautiful feature in this, and that we're getting it at project plan approval and not concept plan approval, because at project plan approval it's in stone, right? It's not some fake hollow promise to build it that way.
It's actually fabricated concrete, not stone.
Oh,
that was a joke.
Does anyone want to put forward a motion? Just to summarize, I think the discussion we've had, we're not feeling that noise, while it's a concern shared by neighboring residents, based on Provo City noise ordinances, they would be able to report any concerns with noise, and if they were in violation of any noise, that would be the route, but not necessarily at project plan approval. I understand there's concerns for noise during construction processes, but that would be the same in any type of construction, if it's residential or commercial. And the second issue being with soil stability is, it feels like there's some consensus that that's addressed through the public works approval. And then with parking issues, it is appears to be adequately parked based on the use, and if there's change in uses, there would be a subsequent review on parking.
I can make a motion on that.
Thanks, Jonathan.
I move that item 2, Dudley and Associates request project plan approval for a new.
Item number 1.
Sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Item 1. Josh Arrington requests project plan approval for a new 75,000 square foot office building on a 3-acre campus in the R&BP zone located at 388 West Riverbend Lane, River Bottoms neighborhood. Be approved. That's all I need there. There's no caveats.
I'd just like to add an amendment or an addenda that we are also approving the building materials.
Oh, right.
Any discussion on the motion? Let's go ahead and vote. Or do I have a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Knudsen gives us a second. We'll go ahead and vote on it. Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
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 I vote aye.
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 All right, that's item number 1 passes unanimously. 9-0. Right? 9-0, yeah. Let's go on to item number 2. Dudley and Associates request project plan approval for a new 3-story office building in the SC3 Regional Shopping Center Zone located approximately at 4951 North Edgewood Drive, River Bottoms neighborhood. Mr. Ardmore.
And could we also read in item number
Yes.
3?
And item number 3, Jay Roberts requests approval of a zone map amendment from the SDP1 Village at Riverwoods SDP Overlay Zone to the SC3 Regional Shopping Center Zone in order to construct a new mixed-use office and commercial building located at 4981 North Edgewood Drive, River Bottoms neighborhood.
I know that's kind of confusing with 2 different applicants and 2 different addresses, but they are talking about the same thing. So a little bit of the history of this project. It started a while back in 2022, but at that time it was on a site south of the AMC movie theater that you see with the large white roof, the 4925. So the project was going to be here in this area of excess parking. That actually went through all the way through staff review and approval and went to an administrative hearing and was approved with conditions. But as they started to work towards the final conditions of that approval, there were some issues with that site. So now we're back on the north side of the movie theater. The issue with that one of the issues is, as you can see, the site goes across 2 parcels, 4951 and 4981, the office space. And in addition to that, those 2 parcels are on 2 different zones. So the majority of the Riverwoods Shopping Center, all of this area here, is SC3 zoning. For some reason or another, this vacant parking adjacent to the SDP residential commercial mixed use is zoned in that same fashion. So they're here for the rezone request and also for the project plan approval, if that rezone is approved. The general plan, this satisfies the general plan, it's a mixed use project. The site itself, there's a few things we really like about this project that address some more current goals of the general plan and the rivers and lake shores plan. It addresses the river. A lot of these buildings through here have put their back or side to the river. This has plaza sidewalk right to the existing walkway along the Provo River. It's got its face towards the Provo River. It's really using the river as an amenity. That's something that we are really trying to focus developers on doing this point forward. So they've been able to do that, and that's something we like. It provides additional uses in the Riverwoods, the shops at Riverwoods. You've got a lot of commercial, you've got a lot of retail, restaurant. This provides opportunity for some office space with some ground floor commercial. The users yet to be known, but it does provide a new mixed use building in the site, and a building made out of quality materials. So you've got brick all the way around, you've got architectural metal, a lot of glass, and rooftop amenity. There was an email sent to the Planning Commission today that maybe I'll just address as I conclude my presentation with this one. There's Brittany Call sent an email asking some questions and kind of sharing some concerns. And if I can just maybe answer some of those questions, and maybe the applicant can answer some as well. First questions, proposed size of the development. It's a 35,000 square foot building on 6.5 acres. It's about 46 feet tall. So it's 3 stories, but they're tall stories. So it's about 46 feet tall at the top of the 3rd story. I think we've addressed how they keep access to the river, and the trail won't be abandoned or disrupted. But I think it will actually be enhanced. Having eyes on the trail increases safety. I think the other questions might be better answered by the applicant. What type of businesses is this development hoping to house? I don't know. I don't know if the applicant does. And then maybe addressing the last question she asked about why this location and not another location that's already all SC3 zoned. Like I said, they tried a location that was all SC3 zoned. I don't know what all the issues were with that location, but maybe they could give you some more detail on that. But that's all I have, unless you have specific questions for me as staff.
Yeah, I have just a quick confirming question.
Yeah.
Tigris Woods LLC, they're the owners of the entire Riverwoods project,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Aaron, I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
First, just out of curiosity, in the upper right-hand corner, what is that they're showing with the kind of brown and the gray?
That's just landscape space. I think it's a ground cover and then just walking paths, trees and shrubs.
Okay. Just the gray kind of waves. I was curious what that was. Do you know the distance between the building itself and the townhomes adjacent?
Yes, I believe it was over. The applicant probably has this on top of his head, and we would be quick to answer it. But I think it was over 30 feet from the property line to the edge of the building. And then you can see that there's additional setback from the property line to that first townhome, townhome 1 there. So there's probably, I would imagine, about 40 at least feet.
On the image to the right here, it's outlining the property, but the development only goes up to that mid black line, right? So it's protecting the trail space, or it's going all the way back to that trail.
No, you could see how it kind of addresses that. So the building and the parking lot kind of stops before you get to the open space.
Yep, I see. And then the back,
yeah.
it's in the open space. Got it.
So that open space will be kind of redone in parts adjacent to the building. The trail will be run uninterrupted, but they are improving parts of the open space just east of the trail there.
Cool. And then what conditions did it fail on the front side? Just out of curiosity.
What conditions did it fail?
Yeah, you said it had a conditional acceptance on the other side.
The conditions were they had to finish up the parking agreement, which is the owner agreeing with himself, and then record a plat to do a new boundary on the property that was south of the theater. As from my understanding, as they went to go do that plat work, there were some issues, I'm not sure, with the theater perhaps, but maybe that can give you more detail.
Is Tigris Woods LLC, do they own these townhomes, or are those?
No, those are
homeowner owned. Like
those are individually owned.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else have questions for?
I just was wondering, does SDP1 stand for anything? What does SDP stand for?
Specific development plan.
Okay, so just a performance development.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Aaron, I'm not seeing any other questions, but thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Will the applicant please come forward and just state your name and your affiliation?
Jay Roberts, I'm a Provo resident and my affiliation is the owner's representative on the project.
Yeah, do you have any additional comments you'd like to make on these applications?
No, the intent is to beautify the area also in conjunction with the Riverwoods as we continue to master plan the Riverwood Shopping Center. And so, allowing a beautiful building such as this to come in and help lift the area and some of the aging buildings there. So that's part of the intent here.
I don't know if you had a chance to see the community comment, but does anyone want to follow up on any questions from that while we have the applicant forward to address any of those on behalf of the member of the public, Brittany Call?
I have one, Daniel.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to clarify, do you know what the issues were with that first piece of property?
From my understanding, it was issues with the lease between AMC and being able to utilize that extra area, even after many attempts to talk with them and deal with them. It just was ultimately for this opportunity. So we ended up having to move the lot because of those prior lease agreements.
Go ahead.
I don't. What's being presented on the screens is sufficient. Thank you so much.
Okay. Yeah, you have 15 minutes, or we'll keep you here for 15 minutes. We probably won't, but yeah. Any other follow-up questions?
I have questions. I was looking at the years of overhead photos, and I felt like they were not as useful as they could be, because I don't know what time of day they were taken, except that it was obviously daytime, which doesn't factor in movie theater parking hardly at all. Yeah. I don't know how occupied the residences were during those years. And so I'm just wondering if you can fill us in on the information that's not there, like the section of the parking lot that is being proposed to be part of this project. Is that also movie theater parking that you're going to have lease agreements with that are going to be a problem?
No, that's the purpose of moving here was because there was no.
So the movie theater doesn't have any rights to those
Correct.
parking stalls.
Yeah.
Is that section of the lot ever used by the residents to the north? I think the letter said that it was kind of, or is it mostly moviegoers, or like, how do we know who we're robbing parking from?
Yes, the parking is owned by Tigers Woods LLC.
So it's not allotted to anyone in particular?
It's not. It's allotted to the shopping center.
Okay. So if the people in the homes have a problem with it being stolen, it's not actually theirs in the first place. Correct. By right? Okay. Yeah. Can you explain how the parking will be shared? In here, it says there's going to be a parking agreement to share that. So is it between the shopping center and the office building?
Correct.
And anybody could park there, so moviegoers could still park there and residents could still park there?
Yeah, well, we would prefer that it's
not.
Yeah, people who are patronizing the Riverwoods shopping center. But that's, yes, essentially it's not.
Okay. Not intended that way.
Yeah.
That's not a backup plan.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is because it feels like a very compatible shared use, where the people who might need extra parking with those cars would likely be gone during the day. So the movie theater peak times and the office peak times are not the same, and the residential and office peak times wouldn't be the same. And so I feel like there shouldn't be a whole lot of competition.
Correct. And oftentimes employees from Provo Beach will park in that area.
Yeah.
Because that stays open later, and that's when their busy time is.
Okay. That's all. I just had questions about the parking.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm curious, like in your lease agreement with the AMC, is there a commitment for parking like dedicated to AMC? Like how?
It's a good question. I don't feel like I have enough information on their lease, other than, it was, they didn't want to work with us to utilize that space at this time. So, when their lease ends, it's certainly a possibility, but timing is what we're working with.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Jay, all right?
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Time.
We'll now open this to the public hearing portion. If there's anyone here that'd like to make a comment, please line up. Please state your name, where you live. Any neighborhood or district chairs? Okay. I'm not seeing anybody. With that, we'll close our public hearing portion of the meeting. And with that, we'll discuss amongst ourselves. I kind of share the same view as Commissioner Jensen. I see these as complementary uses. One's parking at night at the Riverwoods. When I've been there, and this is obviously anecdotally, it gets full in the back where Provo Beach and some of the restaurants are. AMC surprisingly doesn't seem to get too full. To me, it's an underrated theater because there's great seating in it. It's lots of space. Yeah, it's been remodeled. But I see the uses being compatible. It's not. I agree that it's nice to have a different commercial use other than retail. And I also see the professional uses, enhancing the use of the overall property. I also really love the design element of the building. I know that to have that much glass is expensive, and brick, or whether that's brick or a cladding of brick, it's definitely compatible with surrounding architecture and design, and it looks to be of really great quality. So I like that a lot. Anyone else want to make comments?
I have a question that I realized we didn't have the developer answer.
Yeah.
One of the things in the letter that we received was, what sorts of businesses do you expect to use the space? And I'm wondering if you have an idea of what that expectation is.
So the top floor is meant to house just a private equity business. So it's got 12 to 15 employees on that top floor on a regular basis. The other two floors, the second floor, we're aiming for commercial office space. And then the bottom floor, potentially mixed-use retail, but those are still undefined.
So in the staff report, it says that there's some parking on that bottom floor. Is that a misunderstanding, or there's actually going to be inside the footprint of the building?
Correct. If you look
just on that back side,
that north kind of west corner.
Okay.
There's enough parking spaces for
the 12 people on the top floor. Okay. And then my last question is probably for Mr. Ardmore, but you said that this meets the river's plan because it's a it faces the river. The access to the building is from the east, but I don't see that people are going to park their car and then walk around to the riverside to come in. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, but help us see the vision of where is it just because there'll be eyes on the river because they'll be sitting at their desks from that side?
So it's designed almost with two front doors. If there's any customer facing, they would most likely be coming in through the east, right? But the employees, they have access through the west to a nice break area against the river. But it looks, through the elevations renderings, it looks like two front sides.
Okay, thank you.
Just to add to that, ideally, if it was an outdoor type business that could utilize both sides on that main floor, whether through a bike rental or something like that. That's one of the tenets that we potentially be seeking.
Awesome. That's a fun idea. Thank you.
Commissioner Whitlock?
Yeah, I think this is awesome. We're taking a lot that's very underutilized, I would guess, and making it into a valuable building that'll provide value to the owner and to the community. And it's beautiful and I like it. That whole area there, in my opinion, is very overparked. I mean, there's probably Chalk the Block is like the only thing I can think of where that whole thing is used in my entire time as a very frequent patron of that area. I went and saw a movie on Thanksgiving Day, actually evening. I probably like one of the most busiest times ever for AMC, and there's still over 50% of the whole area no one was parked there. So I just think the whole area is very overparked.
Yeah, and I'm comfortable knowing that there's a single property owner over the whole development with a shared parking agreement. And if there's ever any capacity issues, yeah, like you said, it is underparked. A lot of parking spaces underutilized.
I'm super excited to have a different use in there we talk a lot about having mixed use, and this brings another element to the area that is on the other side of the river, but I think this will be fun. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
There's maybe one thing I've thought about in like a what if scenario. If there's any concern about having the shopping center zone go right up to the residential zone, like maybe that's why that northern parcel or this northern parcel of this request was zoned as residential, was as a buffer, maybe. Like if we put this as a parking lot, then nobody can ever build right up next to us with this shopping center use. But would the research and business park zone accomplish what they wanted to accomplish here, or would it not allow that bottom floor commercial?
I'm glad you asked that question because it gave me an opportunity to come up and correct my earlier answer. Bill pointed out to me that there's 2 rows of parking there and a 24-foot access lane. So
It's actually more like 60 feet.
That by itself is 60 feet. So with the landscaping and the shrubs up against the building,
it's 100 feet.
At least 80 feet. Our most strict standard for dissimilar uses for setbacks is 20. So this far meets that and more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just out of curiosity, if they were to ask for a different zone there instead of the shopping center, would they be able to do this project?
Yeah, as far as the setbacks from the residential go, yes.
And the uses that they've tossed out as possibilities, would you be able to do those in a research and business park zone?
It's pretty general with the dissimilar uses. It just says anything against residential that's commercial, industrial, otherwise has to go with those transitional setback standards.
Okay, I'm not talking about the setbacks though. I'm talking about the actual proposed use. Would they be able to do the mixed use that they're proposing if it was in a different zone besides SC3?
Depending on the zone, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not that we need it, but I just was thinking if it didn't fly and the city council didn't approve it, would it ruin the idea? So thank you. Do we have a problem with the project plan? Because this doesn't say concept plan, this says project plan. So we're a step further with a zone change request than we usually are. This is like done.
Yeah, I think the main condition is the being subject to the parking agreement and the plat being recorded are the conditions. But if anyone else doesn't have any concerns, let's one, bring them up. Two, if there aren't any more, this seems ripe for a motion.
I'd be willing to make a motion.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Johnson.
Okay, I'll start with item number 2. Dudley and Associates request project plan approval for a new 3-story office building in the SC3 Regional Shopping Center Zone located approximately at 4951 North Edgewood Drive, River Bottoms neighborhood. I forgot to start that with, I recommend that we approve item number 2, subject to the parking agreement and plat being recorded prior to the building permits, and also subject to the zone change, which will be voted on in item number 3 being approved by the city council. Just kidding, maybe I didn't.
You're not recommending on this one. So your motion is to approve with those conditions.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. The wrong words came out of my mouth, even though that's what I was thinking. Okay, I'm going to start over. I'm not going to read the text of it, but I'm going to restate it. I am making a motion that we approve item number 2 as written, subject, as long as the project plan and parking agreement are taken care of and the zone change is approved by the city council.
Is there any amendments on the motion? Any second on the motion? Commissioner Kendall?
I'll second.
All right, let's go ahead and vote on it. We'll start with Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
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 Item number 2 is approved. Item number 3. It's approved unanimously 9-0. Item number 3.
I'll make a motion on that one too.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we forward a positive recommendation to the municipal council for item number 3. Jay Roberts requests approval of the zone map amendment from the SDP 1 zone to the SC 3 zone in order to construct a new mixed-use office and commercial building located at 4981 North Edgewood Drive in the River Bottoms neighborhood.
Are there any amendments or discussion on the motion? Commissioner Kendall, I think you're ready for a second.
I'll second.
Let's go ahead and vote. Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
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 All right. Item number 3 is recommended for approval, unanimously 9-0. Thank you. Item number 4, Development Services requests ordinance text amendments to various sections of Title 6 and Title 14 in order to fix standards or fix errors and clarify standards. This is a citywide application. Mr. Ardmore, you're doing all the heavy lifting tonight. Thank you.
It's on me today. All right. Sorry about that. All right. So this is something that we do each year. Maybe if the council gives us funding for a Title 14 rewrite, these won't keep happening every year. But until then, we're going to keep catching these things. To overview the ones that we caught during calendar year 2023, the first one is in Title 6. So that's just for the council to decide on. The remaining ones are all in Title 14. Hopefully you kind of read the overview. So the first one is renaming the CMU zone to the CR zone. This has commonly been an issue with everybody we meet with because of the name of the zone is campus mixed use, and it doesn't necessarily require or even push for mixed use in some of the areas that the zone is in. So to resolve that confusion, we are changing all the references to campus mixed use to campus residential. There's a lot of references in Title 14 and 15 to that CMU zone. So that's what you're seeing your packet so thick today on that. The next one is just an incorrect reference within the West Gateway zone in 1421D. 1423 doesn't go by the standard transitionary zone standards. For the Untitled zone, they have their own transitionary setback and design standards. But that wasn't made clear. So we're trying to clear that up by just adding a line there. 1423, 160, we're correcting the reference. It was referring the public to the wrong section. On the next one, 1434, 140, if you remember several years ago, the Planning Commission gave subdivision review and approval authority to staff instead of seeing every subdivision that came through. What was missed when we did that was flag lots. So it still says in the flag lot section that the planning commission reviews and approves these. So we're just correcting that to go with the subdivision review. And the last one is an omission of setbacks. Back when the OSPR zone was adopted in 2020, we didn't include setbacks for buildings. So open space parks and recreation zones do have buildings sometimes, and without setback standards, that can be problematic. So we're just putting the general setbacks for what used to be the PF zone back into the OSPR zone. So that's what we have for you tonight. I've got all the pages after this slide if you want to go to any specific page to ask questions, but that's all I have prepared.
I have just a general question. At a high level, are any of these are these changes purely just consistency? Are there any actual substantive changes here?
No substantive changes. We try to keep these just clarifying and correcting.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask. The only thing I'm worried about with changing the CMU name, even though I'm one of those people that's been like complained about the name before, is if we change the name, do we lose the emphasis in conversations with development requests? And like, we don't want to lose people thinking about it. So
I can confidently answer no. So it's still there in the purpose and objectives. It's still there in the walking plan. It's still there driven by staff. So
okay.
it's still a
even
focus.
If like everybody turned over and the staff wasn't the same anymore, it's still in writing sufficiently that people would know this zone is different for a reason.
Yeah.
Okay. My other question is, when you do a change like this, does it imply that the map is also, when you do a text change, do you have to make a separate change in a map with all the names changing, or does that automatically go through?
No, we'll just have to work with our GIS department if these all get approved.
Okay.
To make that.
So we don't need to have some sort of discussion on also changing those. Okay.
It's just a clerical thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just curious, like how did these changes get caught, and what's the process for identifying these sort of like, I work in software and I think of these like bugs. These are like bugs in our city code, basically.
No, great question. It comes with just using the code every day. So a lot of these are found when someone's doing a development in one of these zones. We say, wait, that doesn't add up. Or if there's confusion at the front counter with somebody saying, this is this, but this is this, or I try to click on this link to this section, but it went nowhere. So just kind of daily use of the code, we find these things. That's correct.
Just to repeat, Aaron, the workhorse that he has, keeps a running list, and we address it as it comes up.
So yeah, so all the planners are good about coming to me and saying, hey, I found this issue. I'll add it to my list. And then we come here in January.
So if someone were to come to you a month ago and say, I want to do a flag lot subdivision, would they have had to come to us because the code sent them that way? Or is there some sort of leeway in it when you find errors like this? They're like, oh, that's an oversight. We don't have to follow that path.
I mean,
maybe you shouldn't answer this because it's a legality, but
that's a good question. I don't know what the legal answer to that, the attorney answer to that question is.
Dang, we'll never know.
Any other questions for Mr. Ardmore? Okay, thank you, Aaron. With that, we'll open this up for public comment, public hearing. Any members of the public care to comment on this item? Any neighborhood or district chairs? Okay, with that, the public hearing portion is closed. We'll go ahead and discuss these various updates amongst ourselves. Anyone care to comment? Commissioners? Go ahead, Commissioner Whitlock.
I'll just say, you know, I don't think there's anything substantive here, as Ardmore said. It's mostly just clarifying existing things for consistency. And so, you know, I didn't read it all in an immense amount of detail, but just as a quick perusing, I trust the city staff, you know, is doing what they're saying they're doing.
Yeah, I think the mobile food truck seems a little bit more open now. Instead of having that food restriction area, it's open now.
Well, we don't even have the jurisdiction over that one, so.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have to phrase our motion of recommendation any differently, because we're not forwarding a recommendation for that one.
Yeah, and then also it's still governed by all the business licensing requirements, health department requirements. Yeah. Okay, I'm not seeing much discussion on this. Would someone like to put forward a motion? Please.
I'll move that Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council for the Ordinance Text Amendments as outlined in item 4.
Is there a discussion on the motion? A second on the motion.
I'll second it.
A second by Commissioner Lean. Let's go ahead and vote. Commissioner Hill.
Aye.
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 All right, the item number 4 recommended for approval, 9-0 unanimously. With that, we'll go ahead and that's all the items. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you for applicants for attending and attendees. We appreciate your participation.